prayer. Please, our city attorney will lead us in prayer. Thank you, God.
Father, we come to you, come to we know how. We ask that you guide the thoughts and minds this evening for everyone that is just here. So we pray that we'll do everything today decent and in order. And Father, we pray that we will accomplish the business and put aside personal issues and do what's in the best interest of the city. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In there.
Good. Well, like, welcome here to the city council meeting. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Maxine Miller. Here. Latoya Harris. Mr. St. Columbia. Mr. Etherly. Here. Ms. Davis, absent, and Kyle Miller.
Yes.
Well, I just want to make this note before we start. This meeting will not be as long as it looks. We're gonna handle the business. We got some guests. We're gonna see to the guests and then we'll move from there.
Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I used to be a council member a long life ago, so I feel your pain. I'm very thankful to be here. My name is Quentin Whitwell. I'm from Oxford, Mississippi. I'm an attorney by trade, a rural healthcare operator who's found a passion in trying to make a difference in our rural communities across this country. And I got involved with rural healthcare with Dr. Kenneth Williams, who is a fantastic internal medicine doctor that has been my longtime partner in this endeavor. And I'm here today with our business development director, Randa Roberts, and Mr. Kyle Stoner is helping us with some of the Arkansas legal matters. So and I'm very thankful for the conversations I've had with many of you that I've met, many people in the community, Mr. Edwards and what he does for this county. Tell you a little bit about us. So we're my company is called Progressive Health Group. We can be found on the web at phghealth.com. I got into rural healthcare about 13, 14 years ago now when Dr. Kenneth Williams asked me to help him with his rural hospital in Holly Springs, Mississippi. And at the time I was in Jackson, Mississippi. I was practicing law and serving on the Jackson City Council, and just felt a calling to rural healthcare, calling to be a part of something special. And I rolled up my sleeves with him to help him revitalize that hospital. And then we took a hospital that was in bankruptcy about 25 miles west of Oxford over in Panola County, and we acquired it. That hospital had lost $8 million the year before we purchased it. Through a series of random events, I ended up actually not only being a partner in that endeavor, but becoming the administrator and the CEO. And that was probably the best experience that I ever could have had, to actually serve as the administrator and sit and wring your hands and figure out all the details and the difficulties that you face. A lot of rural hospitals are facing difficulties for a variety of reasons that I'd be glad to pontificate and philosophize with you at some point. But the short answer is we took that hospital, and under my leadership as the administrator and CEO there, we went from negative $8 million to positive $5.1 million in 36 months. And that's really unheard of in the rural healthcare world. And so I figured maybe there was a bigger picture and a bigger calling for me. And we went down the road to Marks, Mississippi, that many of you may know. And that hospital had been closed for almost 5 years. And in Mississippi, your certificate of need expires at the end of 5 years, and those beds go back to the state health plan. And I just thought that was wrong. That was a city that was the home of Charlie Pride. It had been visited by the likes of Martin Luther King Jr. to expose poverty in America. It had a great civil rights history and tradition. And I felt like that it did not need to be a forgotten town. And so we reopened that hospital, and with 12 minutes left before the certificate of need expired, we reopened that hospital and got back its critical access status. And then Tunica County called us, and we took over Tunica County's rural health clinics over there. So, we have a footprint very near this area. This is area that is familiar to us. We're excited about the opportunity to get into Arkansas and to work with you guys here. Presently now we have other facilities in the Mississippi Delta down to Southwest Georgia, South Alabama. And we have others under contract in Tennessee, Texas, and also additionally in Mississippi. The way we like to look at things is, first, it doesn't matter what the numbers say. At the end of the day, if you're not a leader and you don't have leadership and you don't create a culture that gets people excited about coming to their job every day and coming to work, and if they don't believe that they're doing something that's bigger than themselves and the one task that's in front of them, then you'll never turn a hospital, a city, anything around. And so leadership and culture, we like to say we're the Chick-fil-A of rural healthcare. It's may I help you? It's my pleasure. Those are the things that we do, and we train and educate all of our employees. Also, where we go, because of my legal background, we know the rules and the regulations related to federal health care, and we understand exactly how they work. We also tend to have a background and knowledge of the government and the inner workings of the government. Obviously, being from Mississippi, we have a lot of advantages there, but also we have built a lot of relationships here in Arkansas. And believe it or not, there are a few Mississippians who sneaked into Arkansas. So, but I get the question of how I got here. I received a phone call. I was told that there were some issues going on at the hospital in Helena as far as the financial solvency of that hospital, and the existing company Quorum asked us to take a look at it. We entered into an agreement with them to take over at the end of this year, and we anticipate taking the helm in January. Many of the things that we do in our model to get the hospitals to solvency and to get to where they need to be financially, we've been working with their current leadership team, and they've started the paperwork and other things and initiated many of the things that we need in order to get this hospital from what's traditionally been about a negative $6 million in losses every year to get to being positive. So those things are in the works, but at the same time, our model is a lot different. The capital, the investors, the things that we need in order to be successful, especially when bankers or whoever can look at the books and see that it's been losing $6 million a year, they want to know how can it be sustainable moving forward. And we've put our model and our business plan together, but also you need to have assets and collateral. And as a result of that, it's our model that not only do we own and operate, but that we have control of the real property. And so that's when we looked at the title and the title searches and discovered that that this is a negotiation we need to have with the city, and we need the city's approval for this. We have a purchase and sale agreement with the city in front of your attorney, and that our attorney has prepared, and we're here tonight for two things. Number one, support for us moving with this hospital so that it can be viable and sustainable and something that you can be very, very proud of. I promise you this, the services that you see now, there will be many, many more services that you will see as a result of our leadership. When we go into hospitals, we get them right sized and we get them straightened out and we get them to where they're making financially making sense. But then we start growing. We have a large number of outpatient services and vendors and groups and other entities related to specialty care that all have agreed to come alongside of us and start utilizing all of the space in that hospital. Right now, only about 25% of the space of the hospital is even being used. So I think we can provide something that you'll be very proud of. But number two, and the most important thing for tonight, is we need your support and your vote, because in order to close on this transaction by the end of the year, we need to also be in agreement with the city on the actual property.
You mentioned the specialty care. What would some of those specialty care services be?
So what we do is we go into every community and we do a community needs assessment. I'm sure you've heard that term before, community health needs assessment. We do that by doing surveys and flyers inside of the community. We will launch a very extensive public relations campaign and also get to know what the citizens, where the citizens are currently going for a number of things. So we've kind of started planning for that, but we'll come out of the gate doing that in a very robust way. But just traditionally, we have a cadre of about a dozen different services that we can provide. Obviously, your primary care and expanding primary care and what can be done in primary care is important. Then you also look at the needs of the community that are very typical in our rural environments, such as the diabetic population, treating them for their neuropathies. So wound care often comes alongside of that. Pain management can typically come alongside of that, especially for many people, that have very difficult jobs that include intensive labor, et cetera. So, and then we also like to link up with all of the industries in the area and provide services to the industry so that they have a partnership with us, because if the industries aren't coming to us for the care that their employees need, then they're sneaking out the door, right? And then of course workers' comp care comes alongside of that. And then from there we get into specialties. I mean, I know that there's been some cardiology that's been done here. We want to ramp that up. We're also looking at potentially nephrology, given the diabetic population, rheumatology. We have a partnership with a group out of Nashville that is growing across the country, and they've come alongside of us to provide a lot of that. And then we look at wellness, physical therapy. I mean, there's just so many things that you can do in the rural environment. And if I like to tell people that I don't think the federal government intended to really mess up rural hospitals. They weren't intentionally trying to kill them, but they did a pretty doggone good job of it, whether it be by accident or design. And so what's happened, if you really look at the state of healthcare, things have changed to where they really want you to focus on the outpatient side of services. And then they give you a little bit of extra juice along the way, like utilizing rural health clinics instead of just independent clinics. And so those are things we'll have to apply for. It's just paperwork, things that have to be done, but that can be done to get a better reimbursement rate. And then, of course, all your radiology services, your laboratory services. We want everyone in the community to know everything we do. I mean, simple things like if you need to get your blood work done, you don't need to go travel 2 or 3 hours to go get that done. You can just come to the local hospital and we'll have that information to you readily available. And then, of course, the emergency room is always the front door of any rural hospital, and making sure that it's credible and that the citizens of this community know how important it is that they can go there and be treated well, not only from a physician standpoint, but also just from a humane standpoint. You'd be amazed at how many rural hospitals we go in, and the first set of stories is just, I don't feel welcome there. And those are the kind of things that we want to make sure that your community that everyone in the community feels welcome.
I'd like to ask you a question. So, and I have, had a lot of phone calls today, and I'm hoping that I can express this the way it was expressed to me. So one of the questions was, are they just going to come in and treat and then just hurry up and usher people out of the hospital? That was one question. Another question, and I guess I'm basing this on what you just said. So if you're purchasing the hospital itself and the land that goes with the hospital, and what happens to that land and to the hospital if, say, you decide 10 years from now that you're going to pull out? What is the longevity of the hospitals that you've taken over so far? I'm assuming from what you said, they're all operational, they're running, they're making money, all of that. What is the long-term plan that should that happen?
Sure. Great questions. So first of all, there's a negative connotation term in the emergency room world of treat and street.
Exactly.
Treat them and put them back on the street. Those are the things that we want to avoid. Okay. So obviously in an emergency room setting, you got two factors working with you, okay, and against you. One is everybody wants to know what the wait time is. And the wait time, they want it to be like 2 to 4 minutes, right? They want to be, if they come, they want to be ushered in, they want to be taken care of. So you don't want your ER getting bogged down with patients that are just laboriously being kept there for no reason, obviously. We want to make sure we get people in. But what we need to do and what we have to do to be successful to the community is make sure, number one, that we get good, proper diagnoses. And number two, that they are extensive, that they are everything you need. You don't want somebody coming in and saying, I went there and they told me nothing was wrong with me, and then I went somewhere else and I found out I was having a heart attack. Those are the kind of things you don't want to happen. But long term, as we build this operation the way it should be and grow, kind of like I said to Mr. Kyle here, is if we have primary care that is robust and we also have these specialty treatments, we want to make sure that our emergency room providers know everything about what we do from 8 to 5, so that they can make sure they can say, okay, thank you, Ms. Smith, for coming here. Here's what's going on. This is what we can do for you today. And then as you leave, by the way, here's his phone number. Please call in the morning and schedule an appointment for X, Y, or Z treatment that can also be provided at the hospital in non-emergency hours, if that makes sense. As far as the hospital and with the land, I just don't see any other way financially to put this model together to make it make sense. So far, knock on wood, I have 100% track record of success, and I don't plan on Helena, Arkansas being my first failure. But we're here for the long haul. I've got gray hair just from, I would definitely say it's not from living with my beautiful, sweet wife. Okay. But I'm 51 years old. I'm here to be in the communities that we serve for a long time. Progressive Health's not being built to turn around and be done with what we do. We're trying to build a sustainable long-term operation. I can't speak to all the legal minutia, but I can say this. a hospital license, because I've opened a closed facility before. And I'm being asked in Texas to come in and do it again, which I swore I would never do, by the way. But a hospital license stays with the building. So in the event something goes wrong with us, which God forbid that it would, there's always the possibility of the license being reactivated. So those kind of things are there's scenarios that I hope that we don't have to go down those rabbit trails, because hopefully that's not something that you or I or anyone in this room is contemplating. But having been on the other side of reopening closed facilities, that can be done. But that's not why we're here. We're here to be successful in that hospital. We're here to be there for a long time. And we're here for this hospital to grow with this community, because it's a great community. It has a lot to show for itself. I think I know that some people may think that rural areas' best days are not ahead of them, but I disagree. So I think there are solutions that could be had if we were in some kind of terrible situation, but I just don't think, Ms. Miller, that's going to happen.
Well, I break my arm, am I gonna be able to get it fixed out there?
Well, that would require orthopedic, and I will tell you, I'm real bullish on orthopedic right now. If you notice, there's some orthopedics growing tremendously, and I was asking myself, is it because more people are breaking arms, or what's going on out there? But basically, kind of a little healthcare secret. Orthopedic surgeons you'll hear in the insurance world, pre-authorization. You got to get pre-authorized in order for your insurance to actually pay for something that you do. Orthopedics oftentimes are not required to get pre-authorization. If they say something, then the insurance company is going to pay for it. So one of the first groups of people that I will want to recruit will be orthopedic surgery and orthopedic clinic. They are it's a growing industry. We actually have 3 groups that have contacted us in the orthopedic world to come in alongside of us in the hospital.
Anyone, Ms. St. Columbia?
You've been very successful in your hospitals in Mississippi. Have you done anything in Arkansas other than this venture?
I've been in Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia, and I haven't had the privilege of being in Arkansas yet. So I'm looking forward to it. Yes, sir.
You're welcome.
This hospital out here saved my wife's life twice. 3 o'clock in the morning, she got to where she couldn't breathe. She was having heart trouble. When I got her out to the hospital, she was almost taking her last breath. The doctor told me, had I not gotten her out there when I did, she wouldn't have lasted.
That's right.
That happened twice to her. That's not what killed her. Cancer got her eventually. But this hospital saved my wife's life twice, and it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. Are you going to be able to handle emergency situations?
100%. Like I said, Mr. Miller, the emergency room is the face of your hospital, and having good, solid providers that are able to take care of what you need in the event of true emergencies. We all of our providers, we make sure are trauma trained. We are very, very conscientious of what we do in the emergency room. We know how important it is. You and I have spoken about that situation about your wife before, but also I can tell you, I have that story over and over and over again in all of the communities that we go to, and it warms my heart every time that I hear about a positive outcome that could have gone really, really bad. And I will also tell you, I hate to say this, but there's some hard-headed people out there that think that they got to get 30, 45 miles down the road to a bigger facility, and they do it at the risk of their own lives, because if they would just come to the emergency room local, they could be stabilized before they need to go to the next higher level of treatment. We had a mayor in a city in our hospital in Georgia that literally lost his own life because he refused to go to his own hometown ER where we could have likely saved his life, and he went down the road, and by the time he got there, he expired. So those are the things that people need to know about.
When my wife went out there, they stabilized and got her in helicopter out of there,
Right.
you know, Little Rock to the heart hospital. But it was because of that hospital out here, it did save her life twice that I know of personally.
Well, and
And
we've
many
teamed,
others, I'm sure.
we've teamed up with national emergency evacuation groups in the past to make some of our hospitals a hub for that, and this will be a great fit for that. I think that probably something Mr. Edwards probably would love to see. So, you know, all I can tell you is that these transactions are very, very complicated, and there's a lot behind the scenes. I think if you haven't already asked around, if you ask around, you'll find that I've been coming to this community trying to get to know a lot of people. There are a lot more people to get to know. I want to get to know all of y'all individually, not just, you know, for the fact that you serve the public, but also just to get feedback and concepts and ideas of what you want to see, because that's what we want to bring. If it makes feasible sense medically, that's what we want to do. So
We want you to be successful. We
And-
sure do.
And his spouse wanted him to be successful. Can you put that in the motion that we accept his proposal?
Just
Well,
one more
I
quick question.
just got this. What assurances do we have that if in the event something did happen down the road, would we have first choice of getting it back from your company?
well,
You're an attorney, you know.
yeah, I mean, like I was telling Ms. Miller, I mean, at the end of the day, if for some reason we surrendered the license, it could be revitalized. Absolutely, 100%. And yes, Ms. Miller.
And just real quick, so I'm excited to hear that, you know, you're talking about the diabetic treatment, the pain management, industrial partnerships and all of these. They're greatly needed, cardiology, nephrology. So, you know, when we went through the whole COVID thing, there was a lot of this surrounding talk about telemedicine and all that. But what I'm hearing from you is we're talking about actual physical people that are going to be accessible through your model.
You are correct. I'm not a big fan of telemedicine.
Thank you.
I quite frankly, where I like telemedicine is in doctor to doctor consultations. So if you've got like a good internal medicine doctor who's seeing people and that doctor needs access to a cardiologist to just say, hey, I'm reading something over here. What do you think? Those are the kind of partnerships I like to have, is the doctor to doctor. I want your point of contact to be the doctor that we have on site and that we can bring. And then to the extent of the actual specialists, we like to get them in here with, you know, what I usually say is, hey, come here once a month, you know, and then see if you can't come twice a month. And then maybe, you know, like in the ortho situation, they'll put a PA or an MA or someone that, you know, medical assistant that can be there 3 days a week, working up all the assessments, doing all the things that need to be done. And then the doctors come in. And so, you know, you'll find that we're going to be bringing real live people here. And I'm not a big fan of telemedicine. It's necessary in certain instances. And, you know, I mean, you know, look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh, we're going to be doing brain surgeries over, you know, in Helena, Arkansas anytime soon. But that's not what you're looking for anyway. You know, and so, no, we're real excited. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know how to make it more clear. The hospital's been losing $6 million a year. It's not sustainable as it is. We have a model that will work, and we have an agreement in place, but that agreement requires two things. It requires agreement with quorum and agreement with the city. And we made a very nice offer. I think, based on some of the conversations I've heard and other conversations have been had, is 2 to 3 more times than others that have tried to come in and just kind of get something for a steal. This is definitely fair market value, if not more so. I mean, we all know that none of those buildings are worth anything if you don't have an operating hospital. And the maintenance alone required on just keeping them up is hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And so for us to come in and be able to do this with the city will be a win-win for y'all. And it'll also demonstrate a true partnership for us coming in to be bringing great healthcare to the area.
And just quickly, what part do our local doctors play in your model?
A huge part. I was walking on the square of Oxford Saturday night, celebrating the Texas A&M win, by the way, in case none of y'all know about my Rebels doing pretty well, but you know, we'll cheer for the Razorbacks too if we need to. But I ran into a high school classmate of mine who's now a GI doctor in Little Rock, and I started talking to him and told him that we were working on this deal, and he started naming off all the doctors. And of course, I've talked to, different people about them and everything. And so he was like, look, I'll connect you with them. You know, I know y'all know a lot of these folks, maybe even be related to them, but, we have to have local doctor support. It's critical. And it doesn't matter if they're an eye doctor or internal medicine or a psychologist or a licensed clinical social worker, or, whatever. I mean, any type of medical doctors, we're going to come to them and let them know how we can provide services that come alongside of them.
Have you already visited with local doctors?
Hadn't gotten that far
Not
yet.
yet.
No, sir. Just, I've had conversations about who's who and ready to go. Mr. Mayor.
Anyone have any more questions? Yeah, we get a motion.
There's some minor things that we need to correct in the draft, but the motion would be to authorize the sale of the hospital for $3 million and authorizing the mayor and the city attorney to complete all necessary documents to do so. You have agreement that's before you, that's a draft. I reviewed it. I've also was given the limited title report, and I went and pulled all the documents from the courthouse and I've read all of those, including he spoke of a contract with quorum that expires 2025. He's trying to work that out to be subject to it, but that's a lease agreement that expires at the end of next year. That's on it. But he spoke to that earlier, that he's working it out with them. And that is where we are at this point. Any questions from the body?
I just got this tonight. Who wrote this? Who is
I'm sorry. I was looking for Kyle. I've seen John Edwards.
It wasn't one vote.
okay, yeah.
That's how it changes.
I did draft this.
You drafted this?
That's correct.
It's good.
I mean, I just got it
Right.
tonight, a couple hours ago. Well, I just got it back. 2:00 this afternoon. 2:30 to be exact.
But you know,
Mr. Stone, would you speak, for Mr. St. Columbia's sake, would you speak to what the agreement does?
This agreement essentially is there needs to be due diligence done, and we've already started that due diligence. But to finish it, it's going to require some time, and there's a lot of expense that is put into that due diligence as far as environmental studies. The title exam has already been done, but this contract allows us to continue with that due diligence, make sure everything's in place for us to essentially purchase the property and start the hospital. So
can we get a motion in a second?
Do we have to decide tonight?
Yes, we do.
Does this have to be done tonight?
We need to.
Huh?
We need to.
I will say, Mr. St. Columbia, time is of the essence. As you understood, the lease is going out at the end of the year, not the end of this year, but another year. $6 million loss a year, that's not sustainable. I don't care, even for a government who doesn't have to make money, it's not sustainable. So as you talked about it, saving your wife's life twice.
Yeah.
They actually came in, everybody knows that I'm from here, fifth generation here, but I actually grew up half my life in Marks, Mississippi. And I can say both of my grandparents were there and we had to move them here because at the time that hospital was shut down. And unfortunately, we moved them here 2 doors, 3 doors down from my parents. And, you know, if they had the hospital there, they could have stayed in the home they lived in since the early 70s. But they couldn't do that because the hospital was gone. And I think to continue the $6 million a year loss, I don't think the hospital here is sustainable. And so we're trying to get things in place. And I will say, I have a sister, she's a CPA in Senatobia. And they just took over that hospital there, not this group, but another group. And it took a year to do what was required to get that hospital like it needed to be. And so that's the reason with this lease going up at the end of, in a year, we need that year to get everything in place. And, you know, like I said, time is of the essence on this, unfortunately.
If I could speak to a couple things, first of all, he mentioned Senatobia. I did all the consulting work for the county there. They had the resources financially to do it. And it helps when the Ways and Means Chairman of Mississippi House of Representatives is in your backyard.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to put you under a gun, but I'm under a gun.
Right.
Okay. Everybody's talking about this lease expiring in 2025. Make no bones about it. Quorum has told me to get this deal done by December the 31st of this year. Or, I mean, I don't know what they're gonna do, but I know what I've been told, what I gotta do. So in order for him, you know, Mr. Valley said he wants it subject to, you know, legal counsel making final changes. That's fine, but I need a vote by the council tonight. We've already started spending a ton of money, but we've already ordered the altar. We've already ordered the environmental. We've got other things you have to do in order to get to closing. And then I've got capital partners that are all waiting on me to say that the PSAs have been signed and delivered in order for us to fund this by the end of the year. And it's November the 6th. And trying to close a deal, and with Christmas coming around the corner, it's basically saying we got to close a deal in 45 days from the day.
You've already made the deal with the hospital out here, right? So that's all settled.
And that's signed.
The only thing left now
Is us to vote.
is our
Correct.
property.
So
Okay.
So I would appreciate it. I know it's a lot of trust, but I can tell you this, the documents are not abnormal. I mean, Mr. Valley saying them, Mr. Stoner drafted them. It's a straight up purchase. There'll be, you know, $3 million that will come straight to the city. Then, you know, you guys can figure out how you want to handle that, but it will be very good for this city. It'll be very good for us. But if I'm going to get this thing closed in the next 45 days, I've got to have signatures and even with this vote tonight, if there's any changes that need to be made, we got to get them done by the end of the week, or else this deal is not going to be able to happen. Thank you.
I mean, I hear a discussion that parallels our water department. Losing money. What's the alternative? You have to do something. And so, you know, there's a lot of hesitancy and some fear.
We're going to enter into the agreement. Are we voting to continue with discussions, to sign the contract? What's the?
I would move to, this is not a motion, this is a statement.
I got you.
I would move to approve the agreement.
Gotcha.
However, like he said, I don't want to make everybody feel like they're under shotgun. I feel like it's safe enough to move forward on it. Because I think what I'm hearing is the hospital is going to close if we don't do this anyway. So, I mean, we can have all kinds of fears about what might happen down the road, but the certainty is that if we don't take any action, it's gonna, what I'm hearing is it's gonna close.
Well, they're already in a lease, so the
Right.
lease has already began, but like he said, is a better position for them and how they've always done business is to actually own their buildings and stuff. And I'm fine with that. I read the contract. I mean, it's nothing fancy. I'm all right with it.
And your father was a doctor here
Mhm.
and worked at this hospital.
Yes, sir.
You feel comfortable that down the road, your children, grandchildren will have a hospital here?
I think so now. I feel better.
We're
than I
gonna,
did.
we're gonna
Than
depend
I did
on,
before I walked in the door.
huh?
I feel better now than I did when I walked in the door.
I mean, I'm thinking of what is best down the road, even after I'm gone, you know, for our generations to come.
I think what this says, if we don't do anything down the road, it's not gonna be a hospital.
We need a hospital. So is there a motion?
I mean, I think that's a presentation that's being made to us. They're losing money at a rate
Yeah.
that if we don't take any action down the road, you don't have to worry about who goes out there, because it'll just be
Now,
a piece of land.
I'll put this interjection in. I am on the East Arkansas Family Health Center, which is a nonprofit model. They're doing great. Great. 7 clinics, nonprofit, the nonprofit supplements the other part of the budget. And they're raking in the money. So this type of model, it does work. So, I mean, if we want to look at the actual aspect of nonprofit commingling, you know, nonprofit grant funds along with, you know, pay for Medicare and also people coming off of the street or whatever, paying, it works. The model, that model does work. Where I was kind of uncomfortable was, you know, selling the building, selling the land, and then us not really having a stake later if the fact they decide to go down the highway and leave us.
I think it is of best interest for the hospital to be owned by the people that are running it. So they've got their money out in it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can understand.
Yeah.
That part of it. Yeah, I'm for it. I'll be honest with you.
I'm all right.
I'll make a motion that we move forward with this thing.
Mr. St. Clair moves. We-
And I second.
And Ms. Miller seconds
Ms.
the
Miller
motion.
second.
Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Maxine Miller,
Yes.
Latoya Harris,
Yes.
Mr. St. Columbia,
Yes.
Mr. Etherly,
Yes.
and Dr. Kyle Miller.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Please, you now.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Mr. Mayor, in light of some other development.
Come around, get to know you guys.
Not the only rebels in the room.
All right.
Move to adjourn. So we're gonna move to adjourn. We just table the rest of the budget. And we just table the rest of the issues.
I'm sure everybody gets.
Yeah, because that's the only thing we needed tonight.
Okay, that's all we need to do.
Yes,
Okay, you want to adjourn?
yes.
Okay, I move we adjourn.
Ms. St. Clair move that we adjourn.
Second.
Ms. Miller seconds motion. All right.